Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dr. Jason Jones, your host of the Health Made Easy podcast, back with another episode. And this is going to be something that I really have been wanting to talk about for quite a bit of time. And I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. There is a few technical things we're going to go through today, but just ignore that. I'll wrap it all up as we get to the end. But I think some people enjoy that, so I like to include it. But what we're going to discuss today is how much protein should we have in a day. All right. So we've all heard that protein is an essential macronutrient in things like bodybuilding and repairing the body. But how much of this macronutrient is enough for us, every single day who aren't, standing on stage and flexing our muscles? Well, a whole heck of a lot more than you think, because the absolute protein requirement per day depends on a few factors such as physical activity levels, how much muscle mass do you have, what are your goals, how old are you, and the overall health state of your body. Getting inadequate protein quantity can adversely affect our overall health, our physique, and then our general body composition. Now, dietary reference intake are things like 0.36 grams per pound of body weight or 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. Although this protein quantity may be adequate to help keep deficiency at bay, however, if you want to thrive, ignore those recommendations. That's nowhere near enough to get you where you want to go. So how much do we need? Basically, protein should be, somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 30 to 40% of your calories every single day. And then once you hit the 40s and the 50s, a lot of people start to lose muscle mass. Part of that is because they don't eat enough protein. Part of that is because they don't do their fitness. So to keep fit and to live a quality life as we age, we can increase our protein intake up to 0.8 to 1 to 1.3 grams per pound of body weight every day. And this quantity is enough for strenuous physical activity like weightlifting, cycling, and running. Now, regular exercise gurus will tell you that you need to be somewhere a little bit higher than that, maybe the 1.1 to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. Now, regular weightlifters might even go 1 to 2 grams per pound of body weight, but you have to kind of figure out what the sweet spot is for you. Now, when is the appropriate time of day to be getting your proteins in? Now, recent studies show that consuming more proteins for breakfast and supper can reduce hunger and cravings during the day and also for healthy weight management. However, more research still needs to be done on that. But just try it out for yourself. You don't need a research study to prove that to you. Start eating more protein earlier in the day and see if you're just not as hungry at nighttime and you don't binge as much. Experts recommend enough protein distribution throughout the day, which is what I like. I would say a really, really small, woman or man, like I'm talking really small, they might have 20 grams, at a meal, whereas others might go as high as like 40 or 50. And I know some of us have heard that you can't consume, more than 35 grams of protein at a sitting. That was all done based on research of whey protein, and that's all they used. And understand that a chicken breast or a piece of steak or a turkey or an egg is going to have a different absorption rate than protein that's diluted into water that's probably going to go into your system relatively quickly. Now, the myth that eating excess protein will result in bigger muscles is false. Although athletes, trainers, and bodybuilders require a lot more protein, eating this macronutrient in excess is not going to just give you big muscles. Only additional strength training the right kind of strength training with the protein is going to give you the muscle growth that you want. Now, is it dangerous to overconsume protein? Now, since the body has no means of storing protein after meeting its daily requirements, its uses for excess energy production, or basically stores it as fat. Now, most protein-dense foods contain saturated fat. So eating more proteins than the body requires possibly could elevate blood lipid levels, but honestly, the chances of somebody doing that is going to be really, really high. And the same is true for like kidney conditions. Now, these people have other problems, meaning that they're not just sitting around eating, protein all day. You know what I mean? They're eating terrible foods, terrible choices of foods, terrible quality foods, and they've been doing it for a really, really, really long time. I mean, like to wreck your kidneys, or wreck your heart. It's going to take you a long time to be able to do that, not because you went on the Atkins diet for 3 months, or a year, and you just ate, sausage and some sort of like nasty meat, for a year. So there's a lot more to it than that. And most of the studies that have been done on this are very short-sighted in terms of how they look at the person as an overall. But the bottom line is, if you want to optimize your daily protein requirements, you should do it. And it does depend on physical activity and age. It's fundamental that each of us maintain our diet patterns and our wellness goals and objectives. Although I would tell you that if you keep your protein requirements or your protein consumption the same, pretty much the same every single day, that is a huge winner across the board, okay? Because you're going to have days where you just don't need as much, but your body can utilize what you consume, and then you're going to have other days where you're just not getting enough, and your body will break down and utilize and recycle these old, worn-out proteins to help you along the way, okay? So this is not a comprehensive podcast on how much protein you should have every day, but I would tell you this, and this is more and more and more prevalent: 1 gram per pound of body weight per day for just the inactive person, okay? And if you're more active, you can do more than that. I usually walk around about 170 to 175 pounds per day. I'm a fairly muscular guy. I'm not huge, but I'm also very lean as well. And I'll consume anywhere between 175 to maybe 200 to 210, 220 grams of protein per day, and still be able to maintain my muscle mass. All my blood work is stellar, and in addition to that, my body fat stays extremely low. So, with all that being said, this is Dr. Jason Jones. I hope it helped you out, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Bye-bye.